So we're roughly a third of the way through the list.
I'd say we're exactly a third through the list.
Yeah, there's actually
by my
a
math.
note saying a third through the list now. So yeah, you're right. But we're on to number 41 now. Infamous 1 and 2. Is anyone gonna say
Deadly silence.
No?
I love Infamous. I think it's
Infamous
great.
1 was excellent. I
Yeah.
think Infamous 2 was even better.
I didn't think Infamous 2 was better.
Oh yeah, it was really good. It had
It
more
looks
variety in terms of environments and powers.
The
as
point
well.
is, but by the time its amazing variety turned up, I'd already given up.
That's you though, isn't it? You've
No,
got a
it's
short
just other
attention
games
span.
came out and surpassed it.
No, I don't think so. I think
Infamous
that's,
1 was like a hidden
if you ask me,
gem,
Infamous
surprise hit.
The Infamous 1 and 2 are one of the defining games of the PlayStation 3.
Blimey.
I think.
If you look at the games that we've discounted prior to this, Halo 3, Halo 4, Spec Ops, Ni no Kuni, New Super Mario Brothers, I just think this will eventually...
Maybe it will go eventually, but I'm not willing to let it go without a fight yet.
All right, okay. Fair enough.
I love Infamous.
That's
but
1, 2.
I love a lot of the
2.
games that
Chris,
didn't make
it's
it
up
in.
to you. You'll be the deciding factor here.
I mean, I do want to say I played Infamous for about 4 hours. I didn't like it.
Jesus.
It's longer than 5 minutes.
It's longer than 5 minutes. Yeah, it was very.
almost
I imagine you were like 3 hours and like 35 minutes or something going, oh God.
I can't handle
Am I
another 5
still
minutes.
shooting dudes with electricity?
I love that stuff.
I just thought it offered
Such a
you too
good
much
suit.
too quickly. It was like you can climb everywhere and do everything, and it was.
All right, so Rob's criticism is that it gives you too much to do.
Yeah.
I just love running around,
It's not
like,
focused.
It did traversal of a city environment so well.
Better than Crackdown?
Yes.
like saving the kind of the various communities, breaking them free from their situation.
Yeah,
I just
Infamous-
enjoyed
that's
that.
Infamous
It
too.
was like the same as San Andreas, like going around doing the turf.
What I
wars and
love
stuff.
that is that it took like the movement, the freedom of movement, and how good it felt to just get around an environment that Assassin's Creed did, or I can't remember.
It feels like
if
a game that was built around fun rather than an idea.
And it took
it's
the
fun
thing
to
that
lob balls of electricity.
that
It's fun
Crackdown
to
did
hover.
well. The Crackdown did well. You collect the orbs, and it tells you where the orbs are. But Crackdown, you did that, and the only way you had to get around was this giant jump, and it was awkward at times where
Do
you
you know
get
what?
caught underneath.
Crackdown's better than Infamous.
No, you're wrong.
Crackdown
You're
1.
wrong.
Yeah.
You're wrong.
It is.
You're wrong. That's wrong.
People will still remember Crackdown in like 10 years.
For what? Like, Crackdown was
being
good in
awesome.
one element. The rest of it was, I'm sorry, trash.
Well,
Everything
I
around.
I can name two.
Everything
The co-op,
around.
as a co-op game, it's
Yeah.
excellent.
All right,
Agreed.
co-op and collecting the orbs. That
no,
is-
being able to pinpoint exactly where on a car you shoot it as a drive-by, shooting out the back wheel
It's
of
just
a
an
car.
awesome
and
game. The
Crackdown's
feeling,
one of
the
best thing.
thrill, and the enjoyment of Ascension.
Yeah.
Of the game. Every part of that game was like a puzzle.
Agreed.
Just a big
the
3D.
true-
I
puzzle.
remember
And-
playing that game and trying to get to a roof and getting caught in between the two ledges of a window and being utterly infuriated because I couldn't get out. He's just like, he's doing this amazing super jump,
I
can't
know-
get out of this ledge area.
To be
Yeah, the
honest,
thing,
it
you
was.
kind of hacked your way into
it
that
was,
situation. That's something that the developers
But
don't
you
put
had
that
to
in
use
there.
that. You had to use that to get on like higher and higher up.
Right.
It's
the
all
bigger
part of the
things.
fun.
It
You're
was
I
like
know we're
try
skipping
and
time.
jump as high as you can and land on the tiny little ledge that may or may not be able to hold
Yeah.
you. Sometimes the ledge will you'll just phase straight through it. Other
Right.
times you'd land on it and you're like, all right, I'm going to try again now. Whereas Infamous was all about smooth movement from point A to point. There was a point where you didn't ever have to touch the ground. It's like you could go from the rooftop, glide over to a train track.
My
and the
argument,
train track will
I
pull
absolutely
you
agree
in
with
via
you.
electricity, and you can just surf around the
Yeah,
train
I absolutely
track.
agree
That's
with you. But
amazing.
my argument, I never found that fun.
I love
I
that.
never found the
That was
traversal
brilliant.
fun. I found it overly simplistic and unchallenging. And
In the
I
same
think
way-
when you look at a game like Mario, the beautiful thing is that you can climb everywhere, but it makes it a challenge. It makes hitting those peaks a real challenge, and I don't think Infamous did
So
that.
let's have a debate. I think one of these games needs to go in.
Yeah.
Either Crackdown or one of the Infamous, and I think Crackdown needs to go in.
I
Infamous-
agree. I think
Infamous needs
I
to
think
go in.
another thing that Crackdown did, you have to remember that Crackdown was released at an age where there was nothing
It
but
was a
GTA
first gen
clones.
game, Crackdown.
It was a first gen game, but it was at a time when there was nothing but GTA
You're
clones.
telling me over
there was nothing but GTA clones, and it managed to stand out amongst the GTA.
I think it was,
clones.
even though it didn't do a lot of elements as well as Infamous, it was just more entertaining.
Yeah, what I would
I
say,
don't
I mean,
know.
It's
for
like
me,
it looks
no.
better. It's not as fluid, you know. The kind of the variety of your abilities and stuff like that was not there. The world wasn't as large, but it was more entertaining. You know, it's like a big 3D puzzle. All of your friends being able to jump in and out, and just blowing stuff up in Crackdown is more fun than blowing stuff up in Infamous.
For me, the sign
Lobbing
of-
a
I
car
think,
at someone.
I think as a whole, we're here to say what are the best games of this generation. As
Yes.
a whole, Infamous is a all-round better game than Crackdown.
Chris.
But
Chris,
there's
what do you think?
Elements
there's more
of
there's
Crackdown,
more
which are
to
undoubtedly. I've spent hours and hours playing Crackdown, ridiculous amounts of hours, and loved it. But as a game, I think Crackdown isn't as good as Infamous.
Chris, what do you think?
For me, the sign of a great game is one that kind of sticks with you after you've played it. Like when you play Tetris, then you go to bed at night and you're still dropping blocks in
It's
your
called
head.
Tetrisis. isn't
Exactly.
it? Yeah.
So after playing and completing Crackdown, when there would be times where I'd be walking about London and look up at buildings and think, how am I going to
Yeah,
get up
that
that
as
one?
well.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly.
I
To
did
me,
that with
that-
Infamous.
I
I
remember
never
that,
Infamous
yeah.
never did that to me. It just
Infamous
it
was.
was
I think I did the same thing with the Infamous. I was like,
But it was never puzzle climbing anything in Infamous.
Yeah.
what do you mean it wasn't?
It was
puzzle
too
climbing?
easy.
It was with Infamous. There was a skill in moving around the city. You had to figure out which of your powers to link together and use in tandem to move around the city in the best way. So it was like I knew I could get from this part of the city to that part of the city by running up that wall, using my glide boost to land on the cable wiring, using that to skid along there, and then leaping off, and then landing on the train track and going from there. It was like
I
you
see
figure
what
it
you're
out.
saying, but what you're saying is there's a challenge in being able to efficiently get to where you're going in a combo
But it
style
becomes
fashion.
fun.
In Crackdown, if you want to get to the top of the skyscraper,
You have to
it's a
earn it.
challenge. You will not get there
Yeah,
if you
that's
don't
right.
figure it out.
That's right,
You can
and
still
that's-
get there
yeah.
in
Getting to the
Infamous,
top
but
of the
you
agency
just won't get
tower.
there as quickly.
I mean, Tamoor, you've done, you've held a really good account of Infamous, but
I think we need to move on and go to vote.
yeah,
Let's vote for one or the other or neither.
Crackdown.
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 You guys don't know nothing.
All right, let's get.
All right, number
Let
42.
me tick Crackdown
Is-
ahead of time so that we know when we get to it.
Number 42 is Motorstorm.
One of three.
One of
Storms.
three. Yeah, any of the first three. We can successfully eliminate one, and
I'm not
I
I'm not a
think-
fan of any of them, to
of
be
that
honest.
series, Pacific Rift is the best of the bunch.
Yeah.
If you're going to
I
keep
had
one
that,
of them,
yeah.
you keep that one.
I don't think any of them are games of the generation.
No.
No,
The
I'm
only
glad you
reason-
mentioned
I
it.
think the only reason it's relevant is because it was the only launch game really worth getting on PS3.
Yeah,
Exclusive.
It was fun. I mean, I'm sure we had fun playing it, but
Pacific Rift had an excellent opening sequence. I can't remember the name of that track, but it's
The only reason I got a 3D TV around the time that came out is one of the few 3D compatible games.
Right,
Yeah,
PS3
yeah.
games.
The one, what's the name of the one where you go through the city that's wrecked?
Apocalypse, isn't it?
Apocalypse.
Yeah, because I played that in 3D and thought it was excellent.
But
But
none of them
just
are games
because
of
it was in
generation,
3D.
are
No,
they?
definitely not.
No.
Definitely not.
But worthy enough to make the long list. Shall we
Yeah.
move on?
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. After that, number 43, Dark Souls.
I don't think it's even a debate, is it?
no,
That's
it's not the way.
staying.
Definitely
That's
staying.
staying.
That is a contender.
44, Fez.
You don't like Fez, do you? I love Fez.
I don't like
I don't like Fez, but I had a kind of weird experience with it. Firstly, it was like that game is created in such a way where if there's a long gap between playing sessions, you will be utterly lost. Like I started playing it when it first came out and I was really into it. I stopped playing for a month or two to play something else. Came back to it and had no clue what was happening. It's all about learning this language that's embedded within the game. It's really clever, really well designed. But I just had a weird experience.
I
with
find
it.
that quite admirable that they've done that. It's one of the few games that doesn't handhold you, and it's one of the few games you have to get
I
pen and
respect it, I
paper out to
respect it,
figure out.
undoubtedly.
But I do see where you're coming from, because if I dropped into it now, I wouldn't know what the hell's going on. But I also think that's kind of the point. Like, it's such a psychedelic experience sometimes. The soundtrack's so trippy and the visuals are obviously like really unique, and I just love like exploring, being in that world.
Yeah.
Sometimes when I played it, I wasn't really bothered about where I was supposed to be going, and it's really weird, Metroidvania style map.
I respect the craftsmanship involved in that. It takes a lot of smarts and skill and dedication to create that
I think-
the language.
But I think therein lies the limitation. I think with that game, that was one idea, which obviously it was a massive challenge
It
to
was
build
an
that game.
incredible
And
idea as well.
sorry.
It's an incredible idea. The idea of putting
The
an
idea of
entire
that-
language in there.
Yeah, that basically a 2D shape can be navigated in 3D, then back to 2D. That's a great idea, but I think the whole game was preoccupied by that idea.
I think these sort of smaller digital titles, I think our decision making should come down to what we agreed in the last instalment of this, and that was, is it in the top 5 of arcade
Yeah.
games or PSN games of the gen? I mean, Chris, what digital games have we put through so far?
We've already put through Walking Dead. I don't know if that really counts. We put through Trials Evolution. That may be it, actually.
I think
Super Meat Boy as well.
What do you think, Chris? Of Fez?
I am stepping out of this one because this is one of the few games I've got a personal bias in that I can't separate the game from the developer, and I can't
Right,
bring myself
yeah.
to like the game, so
Yeah.
I'm not
Fair
going to let my
No, I
bias
mean,
get involved in it.
Yeah, I think that's fair enough as well. As developers get more,
It's
and more
unfair. It's
personal.
unfair for me to badmouth the
We're
game.
judging the
because of
game here, so
person.
I guess
I'm
if
not
you're going
gonna-
to step out of that,
Yeah.
that's fair enough.
Fair
But
enough,
as a
yeah.
game, I think this will be one of the games that are remembered as the high points in digital gaming from this generation.
Well, I think we
But
should
whether
put it
it's
in
the
then.
best, one of the best games of the generation, I don't know about that.
I'm
but we can,
totally on the fence.
Oh, are you? Okay.
On the
I
Fez.
thought you and Tamoor were totally backing it because
On the Fez.
really, I did my classic thing. I played it for 2 hours and I thought it was really boring and I stopped playing it.
I think when we go down to the final voting stage, we should put an asterisk next to any
Saying,
game that
Rob doesn't
voted
usually
for.
play games. Don't worry. He's not having a go specifically.
We'll get to Skyrim and blah, blah. I played it for 80 hours, didn't like it.
Maybe let's not put Fez in.
I
I
don't know.
think we need to be ruthless with this list. If we're talking, when we get down to, I don't think ultimately
When we
it's
get down
gonna
to the
be a
nitty-gritty
bigger
of it,
mission when it comes down to assembling a top 30 or 40 list,
Yeah,
because
that's
I don't
right.
think it'll make it.
That's fair enough. Sorry, Phil.
So Fizz.
Fair play though, Phil.
He's not on
It's
Twitter,
alright.
so we can't tell him that we're sorry.
He definitely is somewhere.
Yeah, he's definitely
somewhere.
old
Of course he
account.
is.
Yeah.
Phil
He's-
Pish.
Nice.
Why? Come on, let's move on.
Number 45, Deus Ex Human Revolution.
Day of Sex.
I loved it. I think it was a really, it's really well crafted,
Yeah.
and I think they deserve credit for the work they did on what could have been a very difficult reboot of a much loved franchise, right?
Yeah.
I
like
really enjoyed it. I'm a
Yeah.
fan of the original Deus Ex as well, and I thought they did a brilliant job, especially the art,
Probably
especially the soundtrack.
next to Half-Life, that has to be one of the most revered series in
Yeah,
PC gaming history.
Absolutely.
And what they managed to pull off
Mm-hmm.
in that, they obviously designed it so it was more approachable and
Yeah.
cater to the masses in a certain way,
Yeah.
and they did it amazingly well. I think that
And I can't
the
wait for the new
style,
one. I think
yeah.
it'll look amazing on the new
the
consoles. I
style,
cannot wait
the
to see a new one.
aesthetic, the whole
style
thing.
was
yeah,
fantastic.
it's just so good. I don't think we should eliminate it yet.
I don't think it was. I enjoyed it, but it felt like it wasn't quite finished. The final quarter, or perhaps even the final third of that game, was worse than the rest.
Yeah.
And the ending wasn't great. I mean, it wasn't bad. It
I am
wasn't like
looking at it.
Bioshock 1 bad ending, but it didn't feel up to par. And the game didn't feel like it had quite enough depth.
Let's not
or
forget
content
that it
that
launched with
series
some
demands.
significant problems.
Yeah, the fact they had
boss
to-
fights were utterly broken.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
the
boss
fact
fights
they had to
were
bring
rubbish
out
as
in
well.
a director's cut kind of
Yeah.
suggests
At
there was
risk of
problems.
being litigious, I think
There we go.
because that'd be fun.
I haven't played this
I-
game very much.
I know. I think Square Enix's fault more than the developers' fault. I think they obviously had a deadline to hit,
To get
and
out.
that deadline was unshakable. And the game was released. That game, if that game had an extra layer of polish, I think this would be a different
I
conversation.
agree.
Mm.
I think if that game came out a year later,
Yeah,
that could have been a really,
That could have been-
truly
yeah,
amazing game.
a top tier game.
Hmm.
But I think there is limitations. I think there's loads of potential in it.
And I'm a big fan. That'd
Yeah,
go into
same.
my personal top 30 list probably, but I don't think it goes through to ours.
I agree. I think my love of it is based on everything around the gameplay. I like the gameplay, but it's not the main reason I love that game, and will, talk it up. It's the aesthetic and sometimes the writing. But so I don't think that's
I love
enough.
the skill tree as well. I love how that it didn't quite feel like it had been dumbed down.
I love picking up refrigerators and massive vending machines.
fuck, actually.
See, I didn't upgrade fully, so I couldn't pick up fridges. It's a whole new avenue of secret passages.
I played that game without ever being caught or seen by a camera or anything.
You do that in
full
every
stealth.
game.
Yeah, I know.
I love that.
I bet you're doing a perfect run in Mario 3D World.
I will do.
The Goombas see
So
you.
was it in or out then? Because I need to rewrite it back in because I've already preemptively.
I just the way you were talking about it then, I think it should go in by the skin of its teeth. And I think, in my head now, it's the benchmark. If a game is better than Deus Ex, Human Revolution, then it goes in. If it's not, then it goes out.
I'll quite happily put Deus Ex through.
I would as well.
Yeah.
Let's put it through.
Quite the time.
Yeah, that was
went from
skin of
being
its
eliminated.
teeth.
Next one.
Now, I'm going to kick off the next one, which is...
46, La Noire.
L.A. Noire is my favourite Rockstar game ever.
L.A. Noire is, in my opinion, the worst Rockstar game.
Don't swear
Forgot
it.
what it was there. But
Jesus.
It doesn't have to have the scope or ambition of GTA.
It's got incredibly poor writing.
What?
But who's
I
sat
think
there?
that
I'm not
story-
sat there reading
That
fucking
story
books.
is dog shit.
What are you talking about? What is wrong with it?
You have to
It's
judge
just-
it as a package, not. Oh,
I have
yeah,
to.
well, the
What I'll
guy's
judge
shoes were
is
rubbish.
that I couldn't understand there was no consistency in that character. He starts off this kind of cop, and he's always doing the right thing until one scene he suddenly had an affair with his
noir scene. Yeah.
What?
I loved him.
This
like
guy's
a brother.
just turned into.
I mean, they were taking riffs off of the classic noir movies, weren't they?
yeah, but it's just like
But it was a
in the
sudden
next scene.
turnaround.
It was too sudden. It was too inconsistent.
It was about-
and that broke it. For
But
me.
I mean,
Yeah.
at its best,
And I couldn't figure
at its
out-
best, I enjoyed that game more than any GTA.
I remember having discussions with people trying to figure out how the system, what do you press to tell them you think that guy is lying and you think he's telling the truth? It was so ambiguous.
I thought it was quite
confused.
clear.
I was so confused. I remember having conversations with other people at the time, being like, "No," it was with Tim and Tom and a few other guys that aren't here anymore. But we had lengthy discussions about how it was confusing and ambiguous.
I loved the setting. I loved that they were doing something different. I loved exploring the classic LA. I loved approaching crime scenes and looking at them and being able to
Horrific
feel
crime
like
scenes.
absolutely, having a feeling that I actually was.
Felt like the detective, didn't you?
Oh yeah, I felt like a detective. Absolutely.
And finding that
Soundtrack
little
was
clue,
awesome.
finding that little clue in the corner or something like that felt fantastic.
I mean, if you dig down to
finding
its
the-
core, it was massively linear and scripted
Yeah,
in the process,
yeah.
but it didn't feel like that.
No.
And
That was-
that's why I love it. I don't
Yeah.
love it because I think mechanically it's genius. I love it because I really enjoyed it and found it
Yeah.
entertaining.
I think another reason why it's absolutely brilliant is because there was so much emphasis on the amazing facial animation, but it was a brilliant game beyond that. Like if you look at, say, Toy Story, it was like a brilliant 3D animation and everything, but actually it was a really good story beyond that, And I think L.A. Noire, as beautiful as it looks, was actually a fantastic puzzle game.
I mean, obviously it's flawed in a lot of places, but down at those cores, I mean, especially when you get to the homicide desk, all of those missions, I enjoyed them thoroughly. More so than any drive here or kill this guy or park
arson-
this van here mission in any other Rockstar game.
The arson department was a bit... Was it arson?
I don't know, some of them were a bit
yeah,
they
it was
should have-
entirely dull
the
until you got up
homicide
to
desk.
homicide.
The homicide desk should have been like twice as long at least.
Yeah.
I'd love to see a sequel. I mean, maybe it will happen. I'd love to see a
Chris,
sequel.
what do you...
I just did. It looked incredible, and I played all the way through it and did enjoy it. I just
It didn't stick with me the
it
way
was the
it did with
investigation
others.
bits for me, like walking about until it goes down, down, and that was to me was my L.A. Noire experience. And I didn't know that.
Mine
But
was
maybe-
the...
but I mean, I wouldn't be annoyed if it made it through. I think it was pretty defining. It was a pretty defining game with it.
I love how they played little piano riffs when you got into evidence.
It was
Nah,
building up,
is it?
like orchestrally building up. The more and more you got right, and you
Awesome.
built this amazing buzz. Love that game.
Do we need to go to a vote? And is it going to be 50-50?
I don't mind. Put it through if you want, because ultimately
That's
it'll
not
be,
the sort of attitude we need.
No,
to
I
make the
mean,
definitive
I'd like it.
game.
No, like I
Fight.
say, I personally I wouldn't, but
You know
but
what?
I can understand
I-
why others would, because
I don't like
it.
it.
It was a Marmite.
I don't
game.
like it, but I realize that it's a very important game, and I realize that my dislikes of it are very quirky.
Yeah.
It is a
It is an
Marmite
important
game.
It is an
Some people
important game,
adore it.
and I can see a situation where that makes it near the top. So
Yeah.
I'm willing to let it through.
Respect.
based
It goes
on
through.
Goes through.
Bosh.
that. Number 47, Little Big Planet 1 and 2.
Nah.
Straight in there.
Like, it's hard to not love the folks at Media Molecule. They're
Yeah.
lovely,
Yeah.
lovely people, right? And they're very smart, and they've got amazing heritage.
Super creative.
I think Little Big Planet was overrated.
Yeah.
As do I.
I loved it as a physics-based platformer, as the campaign. But for me, there needed to be. I didn't want to make content. I
No, I
wanted
get it.
to sample it.
Yeah.
And you had to wait a little while before there were some really great levels in there.
Mhm.
And even then, like the consistency and stuff, I admire its ambition, but I didn't find it that entertaining or said and
Yeah,
done.
I admire them trying to make a physics-based platformer that was like almost infinitely customizable, but at its core, I didn't think the actual physics-based platforming gameplay was
I agree
that
with that.
compelling. It's
Agreed.
like if it had like not that, and obviously I'm a bit of a Mario fanboy, but if it had the kind of physics of a Mario game, if it was a Mario game where you could design your own levels and stuff
Mhm.
like that with exactly the same level editor,
Yeah.
I think I'd be more.
Yeah,
It just wasn't a fun platformer at
If
its
you look
core.
at what Super Mario 3, I know this is next gen, but if you look at what Super Mario 3D World does with
Yeah.
drop-in, drop-out multiplayer, that works very well. But
Yeah.
I didn't think the drop-in, drop-out multiplayer on Little Big Planet was any real advantage, or it
No.
felt much better.
There were a lot of fiddly moments where you were dragging things about in co-op, and it was just more annoying rather than.
I feel like every aspect of that game was interesting, but it never
Yeah.
reached potential. The platforming never felt right. I want tight,
Yeah.
tight platforming instead of this wobbly kind of maybe you'll grab this, maybe you won't, maybe you'll make this jump, maybe you
Yeah.
won't. So that kind of let it down in that department.
Yeah.
The actual content, I want like Mario-esque creativity in every level. And in the
Yeah.
core package, what it shipped with, there was none of that. It was
Yeah.
kind of cool.
Well, there was some of it.
interesting-
I mean,
there was
Some
glimpses
for-
of it, but nothing ever reached anything close to any Mario game that I believe.
Yeah.
And then on the creation side, if you were trying to create, it was confusing. I tried to create something, and it was confusing to me. And
it is
and
like
it
firing
is-
up Photoshop. For the
yeah,
first
exactly.
time. There's
It
so many
just
tools.
dumped you in this thing and in this empty field, and you had all these pop-it menus and all that stuff. And if you
Mhm.
went online, it didn't surface the creative content quick enough, and there wasn't enough of it there initially.
Mm.
And even when there was, the most creative stuff, the stuff that was surfaced to the top was, I've created World 1-1 in Mario. All right, that's fair enough.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
like,
or I've drawn Sonic.
yeah,
with
I've
a
drawn
bunch of
Sonic,
barrels.
or I've
Mhm.
created a kind of subpar top-down shooter.
Yeah, exactly. Like you're
Yeah.
never gonna play in. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, the second one took that a lot. The
Yeah.
sort of stuff you create in the second one was so much more advanced, but by that point, I was just done with it.
It's a very charming
bothered.
game, but
Yeah, it was an
I don't-
amazing
Yeah.
idea and fair play. to them for-
I've got to say as well, the art style was just fantastic.
Yeah, and-
throughout.
I mean,
just,
yeah,
and to create a mascot.
create a
is-
mascot became
it's
iconic.
not bloody
so,
easy.
so quickly.
And also that was designed with less than 30 people, which in itself is a massive feat. So they've done amazing things, but it's just not.
Maybe
Haven't we just put through LA Noire and Deus Ex for less than that?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, but it's always down to the experience, right? It's
But LA
ultimately down to how it feels. And for me personally, Little Big Planet wasn't astounding fun.
Yeah, I
It's
mean,
alright.
LA Noire and Deus Ex sold themselves as adventures and managed that. Little Big Planet sold itself as a game where you created and shared levels, and that
Yeah.
just
Well,
wasn't
didn't
as
we put
exciting.
LA
as
Noire through for what it stood for and what it tried to do?
No, I put through because I had so much fun for like 30 hours or something.
Yeah,
Just,
so did
30
I.
hours.
no, if we want to get rid of LA Noire, I'm happy to go back to that discussion.
So Little Big Planet doesn't
Little
make
Big
it
Planet
through.
1 and 2 are out.
The next game, however, we'll just skip past the
48, The Last of Us.
best
Right,
game on the PS3.
Next one.
Ooh, okay.
I've got a problem with
Sorry?
that. So is
What?
Chris.
I don't like it, but that's okay.
What's
but
next?
I will let that one.
We're going to talk about Last of Us for ages.
49 Burnout Paradise.
Oh, no, I want to represent this game because I think it's fantastic.
As do I.
I don't think it's still not been
Oh.
beat. I
No,
mean,
that is still the best.
Oh, right.
EA,
I'm glad we all
EA
agree.
and even Criterion have tried to top that game. What, God no, 4 or 5, 6 times
Yep.
now. They've
Yep.
not done it.
They haven't,
None of the
no.
subsequent Need for
No.
Speeds are
Well,
better than Burnout Paradise.
Agreed.
Well, here's
was
a
it, was
question.
it Most Wanted there?
Yeah.
Yeah,
the main
they,
one?
They just went on to the Need for Speed
And it
series.
just wasn't as fluid or
No.
fun.
It was the
You know?
auto log. It kind of broke everything, didn't it?
Well, here's
Yeah.
here's a question.
Weird.
If we're putting in Burnout Paradise, what do we do with Forza Horizon?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Because they're very similar.
You know, Burnout Paradise is better than Forza Horizon.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
is.
I agree with
We're
that.
very
We've still got
comfortable with
Forza 4 representing.
Yeah, exactly.
Forza, so
Well,
although they're
we
very
can't
different games.
take games off of the list from the previous instalment, unfortunately. Otherwise,
Bold.
we're going to be all over the shop. We'll just take that out later.
Yeah. Yeah.
True.
Burnout
so
gets a free pass.
Burnout gets
Great
in.
game.
Number 50, Shadow Complex.
I think
Does
Nah,
anyone
enjoyed
want
it.
to fight
I think
for
at the time when it came out, Shadow Complex was
It was the
memorable
best
because
Xbox Live arcade game of that particular year.
Yeah, because at that time Xbox Live Arcade was still only a few years old in it, and it showed, these games don't have to be crappy, like kind of Pac-Man type things. These can be proper games. But nowadays, well, there isn't even Xbox Live Arcade anymore. But by the end of its life, the games that were coming out on
Yeah.
XBLA were just as good as
That's
sometimes as
Shadow
full-price
Complex
games.
is an easy game to love. It's really well crafted. I loved it beyond that because there's not enough Metroid games out there, and that came out as a Metroid game, and it was really, really well made. But I don't think it's one of the games that stays on.
I
the
don't
list.
think it's in the top 30.
51. So scratch that one. 51. Dishonored.
I think it's overrated.
I think it's overrated.
It's a great game, but I think it's overrated.
The ending.
I think it gives you. I think it gives you two. I love the world, and I love again that it's another Deus Ex style game. They're trying to make more of a thinking man's game, but I think it gives you too many tools.
Yeah,
to
that's right.
sneak.
Same with Infamous. Gives you too much too soon, and I think I wasn't solving puzzles. I was just using see-through abilities.
Just like teleporting all over the place.
and just teleporting all over the
Yeah.
place. Yeah. Gave you too
I don't know.
much.
Again, I'm one of those people that likes to have a ridiculous amount of control over
Yeah.
my field of play when I'm playing
It's
stealth games.
interesting that you say that because I've realised during this podcast that you actually love to play games without being seen once.
I did the same thing here. I never got
Yeah.
sawn once, never
Yeah.
got killed once.
So there is a challenge for you.
Yeah.
So all those powers are suddenly relevant.
Yeah,
but for
they're
everyone
everything.
else
Yeah,
who's just
I'm
sort
the-
of
I'm the complete
meandering
opposite.
through, it's like we're overpowered.
Yeah, for me, it's a toolbox. I need to figure out how I can get from this point to that point without ever knowing anyone else is the.
See, and that would work, and that would be fine if they
That would work,
decided this is
yeah.
how this game is played, and it's
Yeah.
so they made the enemies kill you in like 1 or 2 shots. But these days, you can't do that. They've, they'll decide and go, oh, will you sneak or will you shoot everyone in the face? And then if you do that, there'll be a consequence and the world will change and there'll be rats and, disease everywhere. But it's not as fun to play it all guns blazing.
Ironically, I like this game as a stealth game, like I said, but I felt the entire time I was jealous of the powers that I wasn't able to use because of my playing style.
Yeah.
I felt like there was a lot of cool powers, even more stealth powers. Playing stealth, it limits you to a certain set. Like you can see through the walls, maybe do one of your other powers. I never got to turn into a rat and munch and get away. There was no incapacitate version of that. I feel like a lot of the most fun stuff in that game mechanically was held back from me because I wanted to play a stealth style, which it kind of promotes at the same time. But yeah.
My favourite moment in that game was when everything capitulated when you finally get discovered. If you try and go in something super stealth like that party, that mask party, do you remember?
Yeah, Masquerade.
And I was going proper stealth, like fully going for it. And then all of a sudden, as I was in the very centre of all of this, everything just fell apart. I was identified and I started killing everyone.
Crying.
But if
Yeah.
if Deus Ex
Right.
goes through, Dishonored goes through for me.
Wow.
Um,
I don't think
yeah.
Dishonored is good enough personally. I thought it was a fun game, but I don't think it's a top game of
I
this
think
generation.
it was probably better than Deus Ex. I like the aesthetic of Deus Ex more. I love the art. I love the world. I love the soundtrack.
Yeah.
I love the presentation, the aesthetic.
Mm.
But I don't think it's as good a game quite as Dishonored.
I agree with
Cool.
the if Deus Ex is going through, then I think Dishonored needs to go through. They can fight it out again later.
Yeah, I mean, well, the thing is I did enjoy Dishonored, so I wouldn't begrudge
Okay.
it going through.
In
Right.
In he goes.
52, Project Gotham Racing 3 and 4.
Well, 4's better than 3
Yeah.
straight away.
Yeah, definitely.
And-
It's beautiful as well, and there's not enough of that type of racer left anymore. It's a shame that, you know, Microsoft didn't bundle up a lot of the really talented guys from there who are now scattered across various studios in the UK.
Yeah.
Loads of indie
You know,
studios.
working on, I think Jed Talbot, who is one of the co-creators, he is at Evolution. I think that he's working on Drive Club.
A few people.
And the other guy,
Sumo Digital?
Gareth Wilson, is it his name? He's at he's at Sumo. He
Sumo.
did Sonic.
Sonic Kart.
There's a lot of indie studios that cropped up from Bizarre Creations as well.
Those were the two main guys, and that's where they are. It's a shame that they weren't kind of snapped up, to be honest, by Microsoft to do this, because, you know,
Yeah, fourth
Microsoft
one
would
was
be
amazing.
really loving to have a new PGR and a new Geometry Wars in their portfolio for this new Xbox, I think. And I'm sure if you speak to
I think there's too much cannibalization.
Phil Spencer now, he'd tell you the same.
Oh, fair enough. I just think like Forza and PGR are too similar.
Have you played either?
No, no.
No, I mean, sorry, I mean in terms of market
Yeah,
strategy.
marketing strategy, yeah, maybe.
Just releasing those two games.
You
are-
would tweak
it's in this-
these days if you had, because Forza was obviously nothing the size of PGR when it came about. I mean, Forza came off of the success of PGR, and they wanted another racing franchise to run, you know, in parallel to it. It was the B team, really. I mean, they've come along so far since that first Forza game, the second Forza game. They really have. Today, I think they would be marketing PGR as the more entertaining, wacky one, because that's what it is. It's an arcade racer.
Yeah.
Whereas, you know, Forza's, you only have to play the new ones to see it's just sim.
Yeah, the kudos system in PGR was amazing. You can tell how influential that was, because you look
You
at
know,
so
you
many
look at
other
the
games
direction
that
it was
try to-
going with 4, right? With
Yeah.
all the different weather that Forza still doesn't have now, and being
Yeah.
able to ride bikes. And I know that was controversial, but they were cool.
Yeah, they were.
I could be wrong here, but it was my understanding that Microsoft was trying to pitch the Project Gotham racing brand to UK studios. It went to a new studio called Playground Games up in the Midlands, and they were building Project Gotham Racing 5, but then they changed the name of it to Forza Horizon. And so maybe they feel that for me that signals that brand is dead now. For me, but I might have got that wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's right.
It would have made sense if that was the case, because Forza Horizon does still have that kind of scoring system, which isn't quite kudos, but it's similar, like, for drifting and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
That's very interesting.
If that's
yeah.
true.
I never wrote a story about that, but I didn't quite have enough. Couldn't double source it and stuff. But yeah, I'm pretty sure that's true.
That
Crazy
sucks.
days.
I want to play PGR Horizon.
Just play Forza
Well,
Horizon.
Playground Games itself, which no one really knows about, is
Yeah.
a really fascinating studio because it's
Yeah,
formed by loads of Codemasters.
Lots of Codemasters guys, right?
Yeah, and I mean that's all a bit legal in itself because
All right,
lots of
moving
staff
So
moving along.
PGR4.
Moving on.
So we're keeping PGR4 in then?
Yeah, I love PGR4's got to
Agreed.
go.
One of the
There's
best-
Nothing. There's nothing else on this list that you'd say, "Oh, is it better than that game?"
Also,
Is it?
the realism of the cities as well. That's been a big.
awesome
part
game.
of PGR
It feels
since
wrong
bikes.
being in a new
Yeah.
generation, not playing a new
It's a shame
PGR.
PGR2 was the gen before, because I would have argued for that, because it had
Yeah.
Edinburgh in it. I've never seen Edinburgh in a game before. That was amazing.
All right, 53, Mortal Kombat.
Doesn't go through, does it?
No, I mean what a great
You could name off the top of your head
Oh,
right
yeah.
now 5 better
I think
fighting games. in
in
this
Mortal
gen.
Kombat is it is, if you haven't played it, play it for its arcade mode. It's as far as stories.
Yeah, the story
fighting
is
games
great.
don't do stories, but that one did it and it knocked it out of the park. It was so funny. It was like it took all the various eras of Mortal Kombat, layered them over each other, and said these are alternate universes that are now encroaching on each other's territories. So you've got Scorpion from SNES era Mortal Kombat going to like current era Mortal Kombat and running into other people that are like, and then getting into fights with them and putting together this weird time traveling story. It's awesome and brilliant, but I don't think it's one of the best fighting games of this generation.
And fair play then for putting Freddy Krueger in it.
Yep.
But other than that, nah.
Sorry.
So number 54,
54.
which is interesting.
Whoa.
Which one of the Mario Galaxy games is better, Chris? Choose between
All right,
your children.
let's just to let you know, this isn't the argument for Game of Generation. We just need to decide which of those two awesome games deserve to stay in.
Do we? Why don't we just put both through?
Yeah,
I think
again,
yeah,
I was
yeah.
going to say
Yeah.
Assassin's Creed is in there, both two games from
Yeah.
Assassin's Creed.
I don't think Super Mario Galaxy 2 should go through.
First,
Did you
let's
play it for 5
establish, did you
minutes?
play it for over 15 minutes?
No, I played it for. I finished Super Mario Galaxy 1.
Right.
Like, I'm a massive Mario fan. Like, I've played most Mario games to death.
Yeah.
I played Super Mario Galaxy 2 maybe for 2 hours and got bored.
But you need to put more into
No,
that to
no
see what
opinion.
it
I
offers.
don't think that's enough.
I think
It's
Gal-
when, it's
Galaxy,
when that
Galaxy
gets
2
finished.
for me is better than Galaxy 1.
fair enough.
Because
but
it's
was
the
amazed.
harder
Yeah,
version
Galaxy
of
2 is
Galaxy
the kinda
1.
expert.
No frills, no overworld rubbish.
I think it was the
straight
lack of
maps,
frills that
levels.
I was surprised.
Plus
how
Yoshi's
much,
amazing.
I was surprised
Yeah.
by how much I disliked the lack of frills. I mean, the
Well,
fact that
you're
there was
go-
no
but you're
real,
loving
there was
3D
no
world at the
real-
moment, then.
There's no real hub worlds, and because I think you were just on a ship, weren't you? That you fired into different levels,
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
and between every single level, there were 3 points where you had automatic points where it told you were saving a game. You had to press A again to confirm that your game has been saved, and then you had to speak to Toad again, who was going to fire you through a rocket. I was amazed at how much waiting there was between levels, and I guess that's why things like the castle in Mario 64 is really important, because the castle is a wonderful place in Mario 64, right? It's a place where you all want to be, and I guess that I think those hub worlds are important. And Super Mario Galaxy 2 made me realise how much a game can lose itself if you remove that.
So what do you think of 3D World at the moment, then?
I think it's. I mean, I've been playing 3D World. I'm 2 worlds in. I think it's good. I think it is good.
Needs more hub.
Oh, I think.
Well, Galaxy
I mean,
2
I
had
think
a
it certainly
hub.
has more hub than Mario
I
Galaxy
think-
2. Mario Galaxy 2 was you on a cannon, firing into different levels. It was DLC packaged as a game, which is fair enough. But I
The
personally
best DLC ever.
all time.
agreed. I grant you.
I think
the best DLC ever.
I
But it
think
was
the-
DLC nonetheless.
I think they have to be treated as a package of two, because one was unbelievable because it was such a breath of fresh air at the time. Like, the camera was perfect, so many ideas in it. Something like messing about with gravity sounds like it would be an atrocious idea in a Mario game, but they did it absolutely perfectly. And then when 2 came around, everyone thought, right, surely they've run out of ideas, and they just stuck 2 fingers up at that and said, right, well, now here's Yoshi, and here's what happens if we put a Mario 64 level in there. They just,
2
they
was
just
almost
broke even
the,
more rules. It was just
2
like
was
the
almost
expert mode.
the start of the current run of 3D Mario games since,
Yeah.
right? Land and 3D World, where
just so
they
many
just showed off
ideas.
just so how many ideas they could cram into one game.
Yeah.
It's like, I mean, you look at, you read the Iwata asks about the latest Mario game. They talk about how, they were like, we got all these ideas, how are we going to get them all in? And we'll just cram them in.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what it feels like
Yeah.
on 2. Like, they've just so many ideas left over. We'll just do another one.
Yeah.
And we'll make it even
It's-
better. We'll
it's-
dial it up to 12, 13,
Yeah.
14.
It's the fact there's some mechanics in there that other like lesser developers would base an entire game around. Like
Yeah.
Boo Mario, I think only appears in Galaxy 2 once. The Spring Mario only appears in it once. And there's games that would base a whole game on that. But it's just like,
I'm going to give
here's-
Galaxy 2 another chance.
you should. It needs definitely more than 2 hours. You need to at least get to the end and see everything.
At
it
the very
offers.
least, play all of it.
Because no, it just keeps building on itself, and once it gets to the really hard levels
I
as
think-
well, it's
I think-
insane.
Nails,
It's
yeah.
insane. Easily the hardest
I think out of
modern
the 2,
era
1 is
Mario
better,
game.
but
I think they need
I
to
guess
go
we
in
can
as one
leave.
entry.
Yeah, I think we can leave both of them in there
Cool.
and
I'm
argue it
sticking
out
both
later.
in, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so they'll stay. Number 55, The Witcher 2: Assassins of Kings.
I haven't played it.
Haven't played it.
It's an excellent RPG. It is hella European, like, all the way European. Like, the most. If you're not, it's very very difficult to penetrate that RPG and figure out what's what.
If you're not Dutch, piss off.
Yeah,
I don't know why I say that.
it's. I
It's
don't
something you
think
say all the time.
yeah, exactly.
it's a very mature RPG in terms of storytelling, character, and how things develop in the world. It's very like politically driven, but I think the core gameplay
Yeah,
was too
it
confusing,
didn't grasp me.
it was, even as someone who loves to jump into RPGs and be absorbed by these worlds, I found it quite confusing and kind of jarring trying to play it. So I don't think it's one of the best games of this generation.
Okay.
Unfortunately, it's a great game though.
And it's not as good as the best Assassin's Creed games.
What? That's a weird comparison.
It's got assassins in the title. So.
Yeah, that'll do. Number 56, Need for Speed - all of them.
So that's what they've called them
I'm going
now.
to say
None of them. None of them in this gen are better than
Yep.
Burnout Paradise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's move on.
Move on.
Need for
Well, that was 6 years of good work down the drain.
Yep.
57, Dirt 1 to 3.
Doit.
I mean, I'd like to specifically mention that Dirt 2 because I think it was
Yeah, Dirt 2 is the best
point.
one.
It was
Yeah.
really good fun.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, it's probably Codemasters at their best, right?
Yeah, which is why I think it should go through.
Yeah, I think it should go through.
Yeah.
Yeah, boy.
Dirt 2 in.
Dirt 2 is in. Well, unless anyone objects.
No, I enjoyed it. Okay.
Number 58, Fight Night Round 3, 4 or Champion. Champion can get out straight away.
Yeah.
So can 4.
4 can get
Yeah.
out. 3.
Three
was
that
amazing
was
at
three
the
was
time.
one of the first properly amazing games of the gen.
Like, yeah.
I remember so many people being crowded around the same television, just watching
That
it
slow
in
motion
awe.
punch.
I've seen-
They've not bettered
Yeah.
it either, which
I
is a
don't
shame.
think so.
Yeah.
I remember people used to play that at tournament level. Like, I saw people getting
Serious.
proper into competitively playing Fight Night Champion,
maybe
Champion
round
Fight Night
three.
Round 3.
I played that a lot with my dad. My dad's used to be a boxer, a retired boxer, and we had Evander Holyfield's Real Deal Boxing in
On
the
a Mega
early
Drive?
90s, on the Mega Drive.
Nice.
And we must have played that cumulatively for over 100 hours. I mean, that is still for me the pinnacle of boxing games. And I got this game, and he's well into boxing and everything, so he liked it.
Yeah.
But we never had that same. We didn't like it as
It's
much.
too granular in terms of what you need to
Yeah.
do. It's not just hit a button to punch.
I mean, I like it in
Left
that.
slide forward
Yeah.
over to
Oh,
do a right hook.
The amazing thing about boxing games is like with football, like the level of attention is incredible. Like even down to what socks the linesman is wearing, you know, or where they're positioned, or just anything.
I've
really.
never looked at the socks of a
So,
lineman.
well, you haven't
You
lived.
could he could be wearing Slazenger for all like, I don't know.
Yeah, well, slash and shut. Okay, well, the thing is with boxing games, like the level of attention is really poor. I mean, it does. I mean, if you compare it to the real thing, it looks nothing like the real.
As in
Yeah.
any around, because as far as I
Because
know,
it looks
it
incredible.
looks incredible. Like the boxes look amazing.
Yeah, oh yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, in terms of visual fidelity, that's fine. But in terms of the actual rules of the sport,
Yeah.
Oh,
like
It
like
is-
someone's actually flat out on their back for 9 seconds, and
Yeah.
because they raise their head a little bit,
They're
like
up.
the ref's like, yeah, he's fine,
Yeah.
man, he's not dead.
It is one of the most difficult sports probably to
Yeah.
accurately
Yeah.
do, because football
Yeah.
is fair enough because you can think ahead and build ahead, but boxing is right down to split second reactions. When someone
Yeah.
starts throwing a punch,
Mhm.
unless you're a boxer, it's
Hmm.
kind of hard to defend that like, instantly.
It didn't capture a lot of the drama around boxing matches as well, like between
Yeah.
fighters, and maybe it didn't get the chance because by the time Champion was out, it was kind of on its way out.
Yeah.
But I think that's sports games. It's important to do that nowadays in this
Mhm.
generation. It was anyway.
I think we're also forgetting round 3 eventually let you come out to the ring with the Burger King mascot. Which makes it my
We
game
have
of the
forgotten.
generation.
Right in
This,
there.
this
Get that
goes
in.
through.
This
Round
goes
3
through
goes
based on
through.
Burger King.
Does it actually? Or no?
Yeah.
Yeah, because of Burger King.
No, because it's a decent.
Because it's a good game.
What's next?
Number 59, Gran Turismo 5.
Mm.
I think
It's
that
not,
is
it's not as good as either of the Forzas. They drop the
just
ball.
so inconsistent. In
It just
terms
feels
of
like
its
so
content
much.
as well.
It's just a bit soulless.
Yeah.
I mean, I know it's
Yeah.
easy to say that about Forza as well, but it really did feel like they just spent years and years making loads and loads of content, and they just put it in.
But the
But
quality
without
of it.
thinking about the vehicle, without thinking about the packaging and everything that ties
Mm.
it together.
Yeah.
Like,
It is the most blatant example of quantity over quality. The fact that they chucked in all the PS2
But it
cars
was-
and
yeah.
didn't bother to fix the textures, didn't bother putting in the
Yeah,
car view
around
in,
like
just so they could say, look how many thousands of cars we've got. It's like, yeah,
I just
but
think it was
don't
top
want
to bottom a terrible job, really.
I think
mean,
at launch, it's the weakest GT game.
yeah, it's the weakest GT game. It really didn't feel that fun.
I mean, they fixed it up afterwards with patches and stuff. It was a lot better game.
Yeah.
I mean, today it's a lot
Considering-
better game than when it came out.
Considering how long it took to make
Yeah,
them.
like it must have been down to their programmers because obviously the cell processor is hard
Yeah.
to get
Hmm.
to grips with. But to take that long to make a game that bad is quite a
Mm.
feat.
Sorry, Gran
It
Turismo.
wasn't. I don't think it was bad. It just didn't live up to that
Hugely
series'
disappointing.
huge reputation.
Yeah.
Number
Fair.
60, Tomb Raider.
Yes, without a doubt, in my opinion. It's one of my favourite games.
I
But,
won't
I mean,
argue-
everyone-
I won't
everyone else
argue
can-
against it. I think
people
Tomb
can-
Raider was excellent.
I really dislike how they blatantly bottled it on creating the Descent-inspired, survival horror sort of game. Like, and there's hints of that. At the beginning, you're like crawling through mud and through gaps in walls, and you're defenseless, and there's guys with big knives chopping up people, and the atmosphere's awesome. There's lots of hints for that throughout, like survival horror aspects. But 2 minutes later, it's like you get to the bit where they were like, shit, this is where it's supposed to be fun. Have the doors swing open, and then you can AK 100 American Marines. And that just ruined it massively for me. It's, you're on this mysterious island. Yeah. The whole US Army's here. And they all want to shoot you in the face with bazookas, Uzis, and whatever else they've got there.
Yeah, I think
it just killed all the atmosphere, all the mystique, all the exploration.
Yeah, as a Tomb
don't get me wrong,
Raider
it's a great... I'm nitpicking. It's a
great
game, a worthy reboot. But I think they bottled it a little bit. I think the scope and the ambition of the title should have been given a bit more. They should have had more confidence in what they were making.
Sounds convincing.
The next game could go either way, obviously, they say they weren't happy with the sales.
Yeah. I don't think Square Enix has got braver over the past.
Well, I can't. In my heart of hearts, I can't see them deciding that it was the shoot in the Americans with the AK that was the problem.
That's absolutely right.
It probably was the survival horror.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're going to get... So I imagine the next one's going to be shit.
It looks beautiful as well. It's a beautiful game.
That's a pre-review there of the next Tomb Raider.
Whenever I recall that game, I never remember the combat part of it.
Oh, see, that was my favourite part.
I always like ignore that stuff, because my favourite stuff was just wandering around and collecting the info packets and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And what I loved most about that game was when you finished it and you came back, the world was almost empty. Like, there were a few enemies here and there, but for the most part it was empty, which means
beautiful game.
You could walk around freely, no enemies to bug you, just look around, standing around, like get the viewpoints and collect the items.
Can you imagine if it
was
take all the shit shooting out? If it was just a proper traditional Tomb Raider game of exploration, adventure and puzzles. All of those, the Tommy bits where you actually have to solve the puzzles, the environmental puzzles. Like, do you remember the tomb in the windy passage?
Oh, yeah.
And everything's slamming in the wind and falling apart, and you have to work out how to knock things down. And so it felt like the first Tomb Raider. It was brilliant. And then you shoot 100mm with AK.
I just thought, I mean, I know Last of Us came out slightly after, a little bit after it, and personally, I know it's a controversial view, but I despise the combat in The Last of Us.
I agree with that. Despise?
Generally. I don't like stealth, right? I don't like stealth, and then when the stealth got broke and I got caught and I had to pull the gun out or try and get someone from a distance with a bow, I despised it. But picking people off with a bow and arrow in Tomb Raider was so satisfying. I thought I really enjoyed it.
But the combat in Tomb Raider is mindless.
But I like mindless. I'm a mindless person.
When you kill someone, when you swing a metal pipe at someone in The Last of Us, it feels like it hurts. That game has got the most lethal melee combat I've experienced in any game. When you shoot someone, and the sparseness of ammo in that game, right? You shoot someone, you've got 5 bullets. You have to make a decision when you shoot someone in Last of Us. Talk about the mechanics that you like. In comparison, in Tomb Raider, the first time you get the AK, it literally is a set piece. You've got something like 300, 500 bullets, and there's guys falling out of windows and coming for every door in the worst, most despisable Call of Duty set piece you've ever seen.
But I'm fine with that, because I know that down the line there's going to be a puzzle where I'll find one of those kind of optional tombs, and then, like you were saying earlier, there's going to be some sort of points where I can use my brain, and then points where I can switch my brain off and just.
But isn't the tone just all over the place?
Yeah, as a Tomb Raider game,
Tomb Raider doesn't deserve to be on the same piece of paper as Last of Us.
Whoa, this is getting heated. Carry on.
Strongly disagree.
Don't stop.
Not one person in the comments for this is going to agree with you.
Well, they can all bite it, because I'm adamant that I had more fun playing Tomb Raider.
Although I said I don't think about combat in Tomb Raider above everything else, that's purely because I enjoy everything else so much more.
It from your memory.
But no. I actually think the combat is satisfying in Tomb Raider. Like, being able to quick draw an arrow and nail someone in the head and just ping every time. I find that so satisfying, and I find it fun as well. In the same way that Chris did, where I would enjoy the combat knowing that I've got this cool maybe puzzle coming up later on, or some climbing that I'll need to figure out, or even like a tomb for me to go through and figure out.
Or
how
maybe
to,
maybe if like one of the characters wasn't from a Saturday morning cartoon, you could look forward to finding out what was there.
It was a really
What's
bad
from our-
Scottish
what's from our
accent in it.
review?
There's that.
Remember a review when Andy Kelly played it at preview stage, and he was like, he was challenging us to describe
Yeah.
the characters. Like, there's a captain of the ship. What's he like? What's he like, Rob?
is he
Captain of the ship.
is he
What nationality do you think he maybe is? Like,
Scottish?
yeah. Oh, good bet.
was-
yeah.
it was a
What do you
Scottish
think
one.
his character's like? Is
Kind
it
of
bit-
grumpy.
Scottish.
Yeah. What
Maybe
about
a
his
drinky?
relationship with Lara?
Fatherly.
Yeah, like a father figure maybe. There's a burly kind of like Aboriginal guy. What do you think he's like?
Spiritual.
Oh yeah, good shout. Yeah, good one. Yeah. What
care
about the
about story in
scientists? The
games, though, it's
scientists
just
on the trip, like
Racist,
Racist?
schizophrenic, quite nerdy.
Wow.
I see where you're going there.
Nah,
I don't know.
care about the story.
I think it's not as. I think Tomb Raider is better than 2 Uncharted
I'm only being super down on it, by the way, because
I'm up
Scullion's
on it.
thrown down the ultimate.
Only
gauntlet
thing
by
for me
comparing
it
to
didn't
Last of
have-
Us.
the only
it's
thing-
still a good game.
The only thing for me it didn't have was a butler you could lock in the fridge. If it had that, it would be my
Perfect.
game
10 out
of
of 10.
forever.
It was a good game. It was just so stupid.
All right, ignoring his gauntlet for Last of Us
It
on
should go
its
in.
own.
Do you know what? Actually, I'll make another comparison here before we do move on, because we should stop talking about Tomb Raider. Naughty Dog moved on from Tomb Raider. Tomb Raider is them challenging Uncharted, but by the point they even came to release, Naughty Dog had already moved on to something
Well,
else.
Naughty Dog released the third game, which was a bit rubbish.
The B team made Uncharted 3, but The Last of Us makes Uncharted look silly as well. I mean, the same criticisms that I can make, I'm making
those
about
are
Tomb
two
Raider, you
very
make about
different-
Uncharted now. Everyone always says about Nathan Drake as a
I'm not
character.
sure The Last of Us makes
Yeah.
Uncharted look silly.
No.
No, I mean,
I
in
think
the
it's
stru-
better, but
Nathan Drake going, oh, let's look at a tomb. I'll shoot 100 guys. Next one.
Yeah.
It still feels like a
That
video game, you know?
that was the great thing about it, though.
What,
See,
shooting
how
100
can that be
guys?
the great thing
Absolutely
about
wasn't the
Uncharted,
great
but
thing
not about
Uncharted.
Tomb
Like-
Raider?
It was an adventure game, and it was
But
it was
in
basically
terms of- in
Indiana.
terms of
it
being
was basically
a-
Indiana Jones the game.
Yes. Indiana Jones doesn't shoot 100 guys.
He fights a Nazi airplane. Like he does.
But he doesn't, there's never a moment in Indiana Jones
Hang
where
on,
100 guys spill out as he mows them down with a
I'm going to take a
minigun.
guess here. You really like Uncharted, don't you?
I like Uncharted. Uncharted
Yeah.
2 is awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's
so I don't
brilliant
know.
for the environment, and it's brilliant for
Take
the
that.
I don't know what your problem is.
But it's brilliant for the set piece. It's brilliant for the platforming. It's brilliant
Yeah.
for the thrill and the
It is,
cinema.
yeah.
It's weakest where it does the Lara Croft thing, where there's 100 guys spilling out and you're gunning them in the face.
See, I think it's Tomb Raider is at its strongest when it's doing the Lara Croft thing, but it's also really strong when it does the cinematic
This
stuff.
is the point I was making with the survival horror thing, right? Everything that we're saying here, it's at its best when it's doing the puzzles and the exploration. They need to glue it together with something.
They did.
And I think they bottled it, and they wanted to glue it
They
together with
did.
something else. And I think they fell flat and went, look, let's just do the hiding behind a wall
They
shooting
did
guys.
the spooky magical mumbo jumbo shit that Uncharted does better than Uncharted. Because Uncharted, by the
Yeah,
end of it,
yeah,
it's like,
I agree.
surprise, ghosts.
No, I
Whereas
agree.
That had it, surprise, it's like,
Remember that cutscene? Surprise
that,
ghost.
yeah, that Tomb Raider
They had
has
no
it woven
time
into the story.
No,
in a
you're
much
right. Yeah,
better way.
it's a more gritty game, right?
Yeah, I don't
but it's
think
just
this
as dumb in its mechanics. When the shooting guys thing comes, I honestly believe that the original game they set out to make didn't have the shooting hundreds of guys spilling out of the wall set piece. I think
But-
they realised that the survival horror stuff they glued the puzzles together with wasn't quite as fun as they were hoping for.
Let's put it down to a vote. I haven't played it. Tamoor?
After all of this,
Put it down at
I haven't said any opinions
I
about this.
think
I will
it's
say
in.
my housemate loves it.
I think it's in.
In.
Democracy.
What would you have said? X Factor style.
Yeah.
No.
Dermot,
I
they're
like-
all
I
great.
like Tomb Raider.
You're 16 years old.
I like Tomb Raider. I just think there's 10 games on this list that are better.
We'll get
Yeah,
to
well, it's
that
top
later.
30, so that's fine.
Would you
But
have
no,
said
we've
out?
done it with other games. All 3 Uncharted's.
We're going to end up with like 18 games for our top 30.
I think there are a lot of games on this list in its genre that are better.
Well, it is 2 against 1. I know you're the editor, Andy, but
We'll
it is
have
2
to
against
come
1.
back. We'll have to come back to this one.
I will remind you both when it comes right at the bottom of
It's
our
fine.
shortlist.
It's fine. This
So
is
it's
designed so that we
Yeah.
fight it out.
Yeah.
This is the way it's supposed to go.
So for
Uh,
now, until the
Tomb
next
Raider
fight,
is in.
Tomb Raider's in.
61, Mario Kart Wii.
Yeah.
I've not played any game more than that this
Yeah.
generation.
Agreed.
I've played that game. If it counted the
Rob.
hours,
Rob is
maybe-
just for the listeners. Rob is now
I played that
face palming
game
with two
every
hands.
lunchtime and after work for best part of 3 years.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's
I'll
there's a lot
learn.
of things that are annoying about it. It's a lot better than the previous Mario Kart Double Dash, and it was moving in the right direction. And the subsequent ones have gone down the same path. I still aspire for that, Mario Kart All Stars collection, where instead of just spoon feeding us, 20 classic tracks, some of which are really dubious selections, they just give us all of them. I will pay money. If they released DLC for that game, Nintendo would have made a fortune off of me. But yeah, I adore that game. I mean, and many other people adore that game. You only have to look at the sales figures, right?
I
don't.
learned so many new swear words listening to you playing Mario Kart, like words I didn't even know
I don't
existed.
like losing in competitive games, and that is the game where losing happens a lot, whether you want it to or
No,
not.
it's because
based
you've been
on
playing with
skill.
us.
It's just like, oh, you're winning, are you? Well, here you go. You're going to be last now for the rest of the match.
I love
I
that
agree.
though.
It's like
If
rubber
you're-
band
if
AI
you're playing
bullshit.
if you're playing with AI, no, I think that is bullshit. You're a better.
I think the rubber
I don't
banding
think you've
was
played with
excessively
computer
tight.
stuff.
The-
The
I
rubber
agree
banding's no way near as bad as previous entries.
I agree with Tamoor in that if you are in first place, you will eventually get hit by something, and
Yeah, and then 2 minutes later, you'll be back in first place.
and quite unfairly as well. I also think that I didn't like the physics of the game. I mean, I'm a massive fan of Mario Kart 64, and I just thought there was a real sense of fluidity to that. But I think with Mario Kart Wii and Double Dash, there was a real sense of stop and start to it. Every time you hit a bump or something, your car ground to a halt. I just didn't think it was a fun driving experience. I mean, genuinely, I really did not like the game at all.
When was
I
the last
agree.
time you played Mario Kart 64?
The honest truth is I played it last month.
When was the last time you played Mario Kart Wii?
I played Mario Kart Wii for I had to play Mario Kart Wii for about 2 months.
So
after
I'm
it
really
came
not
out.
exaggerating. We played it every day for about 3 years.
I mean,
And when we went back to Mario Kart 64, it's
Yeah.
like when you go back to any N64
well, I guess
game,
then it's
really,
a divisive
GoldenEye,
game.
et
I
cetera.
mean, I played Mario Kart 64 every day for 3 years
So did
at
I,
uni.
yeah.
And I don't think Mario Kart Wii is even in the same league.
when I
Seriously, I mean, I think
I think you've got very red tinted glasses
no,
because it just feels slow, and there are no physics to speak of. There can't be on that system.
I think
There are
it's,
no
even
it's,
if-
a
even
much,
if it-
it's a much fairer system, and for the advanced Mario Kart gamers, it's a much better race.
Even if
I mean,
that's
is there even shortcuts in Mario Kart Wii?
yeah, but even if that's the case, it's the best we've got this generation. That
I don't think
regardless of which.
I think it was a bad.
there's a game further down
ultimately.
that I think is a better Mario Kart than Mario Kart.
What,
But
Dead
we'll get to
Rising?
that later.
Oh,
What's
oh,
that?
I know what
Why,
you're talking about.
We've already played games off each other. So what is it?
Blur.
Yeah, Blur is
Blur's
is
a very
better game.
underrated game.
Yeah, it's really
Yeah, but
underrated.
it's-
And I'm taking credit for that because I was one of the first.
because you
Because
programmed it.
Andy worked on development.
I
I
was,
designed Blur.
While everyone ridicules me, I was one of the first 5 journalists to go and see Blur.
Yeah, I know this.
And it was a very, very different game to the one that came out originally. The power-ups were very static. Their pitch was, we want to make a game that anyone can play, but at the same time, PGR fans will still love it. If you've got driving skill, you'll win. And it didn't work. It clashed completely. It was the build that I played. It was about a year and a half for release. It was just a horrible mishmash of both ideas,
Interesting.
and it didn't work. The power-ups weren't fun, and the driving was kind of like it was kind of tarnished by having them there. And I remember I had a coffee with with the lead designer afterwards, and I remember saying to him, like, well, this was, as I say, we were playing Mario Kart Wii every single lunchtime and after work
Yeah.
for like 3 years. I said, look, I play Mario Kart. You're saying you want to do both. This game would be more fun. There's nothing in this game. None of the power-ups have the fun of shooting a green shell, like
And
a
nailing it.
non-auto target green shell,
Yeah.
just nailing someone on
Yeah,
the
yeah,
tailpipe
yeah.
as they go around the corner.
Yeah.
That is pure satisfaction when you nail that off and you scream
Yeah.
and you stand up. all of the power-ups at the time in Blur were like sort of like auto-target. They were all blue shells, basically.
Oh,
It wasn't
really?
fun.
Well, the blue shell
The next time I
equivalent-
saw it,
Yeah.
they'd put in all Mario Kart power-ups.
Oh, fantastic.
They put in the equivalent of a green shell. You
Yeah.
know, the
Yeah.
lightning was
But
there, I think, and they
had a
changed the way the
defense
blue
for
shell
blue
worked.
shell, didn't they?
They had a defense. It was a far more balanced thing.
Yeah,
I mean,
they
their
fixed
equivalent-
Mario Kart, basically.
They fixed Mario Kart. Their equivalent of the blue shell, if everyone remembers, is thunder,
Yeah.
like, sort of, raining down on basically everyone. I mean, the first 3 cars could probably feel that, as long as like the first place wasn't so far ahead. And I think the power-up system in Blur was
Excellent.
far superior to.
So
Thank you for the compliment.
I vote for getting rid of Mario Kart and getting.
yeah,
Blur
I
out
agree.
in that.
Mario
I'm
Kart-
leaving this
That's-
room now
that's
if we
madness.
take Mario
I-
Kart
That's
out.
absolute madness.
I hate losing, like I said.
I think it's
And
really
whenever I lose that game that I lost at, I cannot help but try and become very good at that game. Like if I play a fighting game and I get beaten at it, I'm learning that fighting game, regardless.
Yeah.
I played Mario Kart, get beaten at it, and realized it is futile to try and
It
learn
is
that game.
futile.
Isn't
There's
it?
Tamoor,
no
Tamoor,
point.
do you remember when we live streamed all 32
Yeah.
tracks and I came first on every single one? Are you telling me
Why
that
don't you
was
tell the
luck?
story about where you got dicked out of first place win by Tom
Oh no,
Ivan?
I don't disagree. That happens, but Tom Ivan's as good as me.
It's
He
just
did
like-
that.
it's
Tom
just like,
Ivan's as
no.
good as me.
But like yours, regardless of how good you were, he was able
But everyone
to just
says
on a
that.
dime
Everyone
turn you
everyone
around.
who's not very good at it says it's random.
It is
And then they
random.
play us on 32 tracks.
No, it
and it's
is-
all there
it
to
is-
see if you want to see it on our Twitch page.
I'm really good at Mario Kart, and it's random.
I think
I
it's.
think
I
it
think
is.
do you want
it's
to do you want
too
to have
much.
another live stream?
Yeah,
Because
sounds good.
I came
Yeah.
first by more than 100 points.
You're right,
It
okay.
wasn't luck.
Okay, but then again, being good at the game may not have as much.
I thought you couldn't be good at the game. Well, I thought it was luck.
Well, I mean, clearly
You played enough to
yeah,
like
let's
getting
get
to that
Let's
point.
get beyond the point.
Everyone gets dicked, right? The blue
Yeah.
shell is
The difference
stupid in
is-
Mario Kart.
It's a great
that
equaliser.
blur
No, it's-
option.
it
The
was
blur
made
option is
stupider.
better
It was
because
made-
there's skill
The
involved.
blue shell
in
was
it.
made stupider in Double Dash and Mario Kart
Yes.
and Mario Kart
If
Wii
you-
because it flew over everyone's head and was guaranteed.
Yeah, so no one got. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
No, I absolutely agree with you.
And-
And I know what you're talking about. Blur has the better blue shell. But if you're good, you get hit by the blue shell, and it doesn't matter because you're so far ahead. You carry on.
But like, let's say you were playing against people of your same level, right? Everyone who you're playing against is equal level to you in skill, right? In that scenario, what defines the best player wouldn't be who is clearly nothing but luck will define.
Yeah, you're right.
who's who it's like whoever one of you is
Sometimes when
unluckiest.
you get that far advanced, it's luck. But I would argue that that's applicable to every game, every competitive game.
I don't know. I don't think so. Like let's say Street Fighter at
I'd say
highest
every
level.
competitive
whether
sport.
whether it's to do with luck or not, you felt cheated.
I feel
right?
cheated every
Yeah,
time I
yeah,
play
I
that
feel
game.
cheated, yeah.
And to the point where I don't even want to there was active points where I would begrudgingly play with you guys
And I don't
because
think
I
the
knew
courses
I
are very
don't
good.
stand a chance. It's just stupid.
That's
Like with
because-
games like Street Fighter and Counter Strike and other competitive games, it's like people at their peak will move on to something like when they're technically proficient and in execution at such a level, it becomes a matter of mind games or something like that.
Yeah,
with this,
that's
it
right,
becomes
yeah.
a matter of who can get the blue shell first.
Yeah.
Or who
It's-
can get
it's-
this
I
item
would
first.
never play Street Fighter or Counter Strike because I know I'm shit at them.
Yeah.
I mean,
Street Fighter is not fun if you don't know Street Fighter.
The thing about Street
Yeah,
Fighter,
but
I
you
mean,
can
the-
learn
I
it
think the-
and
I
then
think
become
the
good at it.
Chris,
If
the
I
better
learn Mario
equivalent- the better
Kart, I
equivalent is-
probably will still be
My mum
losing
can play
constantly.
Mario Kart.
I mean, Chris, the better equivalent
great
for
for your
Street Fighter in this example is if you're beating someone up in Street Fighter and they're down to the last bit of health, and then they can just land.
Yeah, if
on
they
this,
could
they can
kill
pick up
that
this
guy,
item that
that's
kills you instantly by just pressing one button. That's kind of what the equivalent is here.
I think Andy said an interesting thing there, which is one of the reasons it should go through. Is that he says his mum could play Mario Kart, and we literally just put Wii Sports through for the same thing. That it's like
I don't think it works on the same.
So
Like,
you
how many
dislike
people
Mario
bought
Kart
Mario
because you've
Kart
been
Wii?
playing it with a panel of guys who play it
Oh no,
every
I've been
single
playing Mario
day.
Kart for
If
all
I
my
played Street
life.
Fighter with you and a load of like comparatively
see,
skilled players,
I've been
I
playing
wouldn't
Mario
like
Kart
it.
think
all my
the
life,
reason-
and I don't think it's as fun as any of the Mario Karts that precede it.
Mario-
Maybe
The
Double
reason why we're
Dash.
going around in circles is you think we don't like Mario Kart because we're losing.
Oh
we
no,
don't
no.
like Mario Kart because
Mario
we're not
Kart
having
is
fun.
awesome.
But
Yeah,
Mario-
it's not a
but-
fun
but-
game.
but there's so many families who
win
do
and
have
I
fun.
don't have fun.
But
I
there's-
don't think the courses are memorable.
Like, honestly, when we play
the
it-
only course I remember is that one that's really small and you have to go round.
We play
loads of times.
in how many is it? Like 5 people. Honestly, think back. Who are the 2 people having fun in that game?
But
We played it every day for
But like-
3 years.
While I've
we
been
didn't
here,
have people
while
not
I've
turn
been
up.
here, it's been.
But that's in-
yeah.
but
While
that-
I've been here, it's been me, Andy, Tom,
Oh no, we stopped playing when you
John
turned up.
Hicks, and what do you call it? Neil Long from Edge. All
No,
rotating.
that's everyone
whatever.
was well gone by the
But
time they
that's
rotating,
exceptional
and the only two
circumstances,
people
though.
that were having fun were Tom, Ivan, and Andy.
because we're the only two
because
left
they're the
of
only
that.
ones that are good enough. Everyone else don't stand a chance. It's like, what's the point?
But that's exceptional
not-
circumstances. There are so many families that have played that game and enjoyed it because it's such a leveler that you're not guaranteed to
Yeah.
have
Alright,
an expert.
Do you know what? I'm willing to agree that the thing is, Tamoor,
I'm willing to.
the thing is, right, everyone I speak to loves Mario Kart Wii. Everyone.
Yeah.
Like, everyone that I've got a group of friends who love Mario Kart to bits, love Mario 64, don't like Double Dash, love all the 3DS Mario Karts,
I'm.
and the DS Mario Karts, and they love Mario Kart Wii.
And
I
your
will-
Mario-
I
and
will-
your
I
Mario
will-
Kart would
I'm
create the most
okay.
arguments.
I'm okay with letting it through, but the moment it goes up with Blur, Mario Kart Wii is getting kicked. I don't care. I'm gonna make sure that happens.
Yeah, I mean, I think
No,
Blur
I don't think
is a
it'll happen.
much better. I don't think Mario Kart Wii is very good, but anyway, I really don't think it's very good.
It's a better. So let's decide between the two, right? Let's continue the argument.
All right.
Blur, I think it's a better game, but I think also you have to cater in that it iterated from Mario Kart Wii, and it doesn't appeal to the same wider audience.
I think Mario Kart.
The
Well, first of all,
same people that just said to you that they love Mario Kart would never play Blur.
yeah, agreed. In terms of iteration, I mean, I think I get the impression that Mario Kart Wii was built on the same engine as Double Dash. I mean, the physics, the handling,
Probably it doesn't handle quite the same, but I believe
the
it.
visuals, everything is pretty much the same. I don't think it stands out from Double Dash that much, apart from they've got rid of the unique
It's a
selling point.
hell of a lot better than Double Dash.
I think the only thing about
I've
Double
seen
Dash
track
is that
selection and
It's
Well, obviously,
had a
it's the first
flipping
online
character
Mario
thing.
Kart, and it's got 12 people on the track at once as
Yeah.
well, so there's a bit more action, a bit more carnage.
yeah, exactly.
Plus, it's one of the few Wii games that did online
So
mode.
the-
Do you know what? I love Blur, and I think it's massively underrated, and I think we all agree, so I think we put both through.
let other people decide later on. I agree.
Fine.
All right.
62, Spelunky.
Yep.
I think that goes through.
That was more straightforward.
Next.
61, Dragon Age Origins.
Nah.
That first Dragon Age was really special.
I
Like,
haven't played it.
genuinely good.
Is that only compared to the second one, though?
No.
If you're choosing between Dragon Age and Skyrim
Oh no, those are not the same game.
and The Witcher,
No, I don't think as a game on its own. It's not in the same genre at all. It's a strategy, like top-down strategy game. That's the way I played it, and they haven't been like there's very few good top-down strategy games.
Yeah.
is Dragon Age Origins in the top 30 best games of the generation? Is that, if you put it in a list of games that define this generation, I don't think Dragon Age goes in there. Mass Effect for a start is
Again, that's a different game. Like you can't. That's crossing genres. I don't know if it's one of the best games of the generation. It's really, really good though. The problem is
vote.
Who's
I've not
played it?
I've not played
I've
it.
played it.
I can't. The thing is, I'd go out and get someone who has played it, but I don't think there's anyone else around me that's played it. Personally, I really love that game, but I know that.
I love how, because no one else is talking about it, you're actually
He's
arguing with
arguing with
yourself.
himself.
Yeah. No, because at the same time, in my internal, like, I'm thinking it's definitely like I should just cut to the chase and say like it's not gonna make it later. I might as well just get rid of it now.
Yeah. But at least, you represented
Yeah,
it.
it's a good
Off it
game. It's
goes.
an
And so
excellent-
does the next game, Trials HD,
Yeah,
because
'cause
we
we're
put
already
Trials
put-
Evolution
Yeah,
through and it's
yeah.
superior
Great
game.
game, though.
Brothers, A Tale of Two Sons.
Couldn't get into that.
I think that is a great game. And
That was released this year, wasn't it?
yeah,
pretty recently. But it kind of fails.
I'm gonna get someone to argue the case for it.
Really?
Yeah, I'm gonna go out and get. I know someone that would put it up as
Okay.
one of the games of this generation. So I'm
Alright.
gonna go and get him.
All right. Okay, fair enough. We're going to move on, okay? And
Well, let's leave Devil May Cry because Tamoor knows that. And so
Yeah.
He's
let's move on to
going to
Dance
beat us
Central.
up and put it through anyway, which
Yeah.
is the next game.
Well, let's
right?
move on
Number
to Dance
66.
Central.
What have we
then.
put through so far?
So far
From
the
second
recap.
list.
From our second list so far, we've put through Left 4 Dead. Oh no, that was the last time. Let's ignore that. We've put out Infamous and MotorStorm, both series. We've put through Dark Souls. We've put out Fez. We've put through Deus Ex and L.A. Noire. We've put out Little Big Planet. We've put in The Last of Us, Burnout Paradise. Put out Shadow Complex. Put in Dishonored and Project Gotham 4. We've put out Mortal Kombat, put in Mario Galaxy 1 and 2, put out The Witcher 2 and Need for Speed,
Mm-hmm.
put in Dirt 2 and Fight Night Round 3,
Yep.
put out Gran Turismo 5, put in Tomb Raider, Mario Kart Wii and Spelunky,
Yep.
and we've put out Dragon Age Origins and Trials HD. And we're now awaiting Tamoor bringing someone in to talk about Brothers.
Oh, look who he's
Oh,
brought.
for Christ's
not this
sake.
guy.
Cavalry's arrived.
It's Joe Screbbles of Official Nintendo Magazine coming to talk about a game that isn't on a Nintendo
He's coming to
platform.
tell us about his brothers.
I love those guys.
So,
Hello, Joe.
Tell us
Hello.
Tell us about this game.
About Brothers: A Tale of
Yeah,
Two Sons.
yeah.
It's an excellent game and one of the games of the generation.
Oh, interesting. You say that.
It is. Well, sorry, what's going on?
Yeah, what are you doing?
Stumbling about.
For the listeners, Tamoor's sort of stalking Joe, just standing
Tamoor-
behind
Gun
him.
in his head.
Behind
Tamoor's going to
baffle
kill
boards.
him.
He's practicing his stealth mechanics. So, Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons is essentially a narrative puzzle game set in a dark Norse fairy tale, which is hard to say apparently. Its central mechanic is based around these two brothers who are going to find the cure for their sick father. But the twist on this is that you control both brothers at once. So
Oh, right.
one on each analog stick, and each one has a context-sensitive action button on the corresponding trigger on that side of the controller.
Right.
So many people, Tamoor, I believe, played it with his brother, actually. So you can play as
Oh,
two
right.
people. But
Just
it kind of,
sharing a pad, you
Yeah.
mean?
a lot of people saying it's the first time it's done. If I am going to bring in a Nintendo thing, actually it was an Animal Crossing minigame in Nintendo Land.
Yeah,
But, you know, let's
agreed.
not,
Wow.
let's not
quibble.
split hairs about
But,
these
but,
things.
but surely, and this is what our criteria has been with smaller digital games so
Okay.
far, you know, is this game better than the likes of the ones we put through so far? Is it better than Trials Evolution and Super Meat Boy and?
I think it's certainly not. I think firstly it was released at a very bad time, coming at the end.
That's
of
not
its,
our problem, Joe.
I know it's not your problem, but I think the reason
Is this
it's
a
not,
game of the
it's my
generation?
problem.
I think the reason it's not. I think the reason it's not being regarded among these games, where I think it does deserve to be seen as at least one of the best
We've
digital
put out some.
downloads. of
You've
all
not
time.
been here,
Because
but we've
it's
put
pish.
out some very good games off of this list.
I like
We
what
need
you're
to
saying, though,
improve.
Joe. So you're saying if it was released before Braid, it would have got more attention.
Well, that's yeah. I mean,
Because
obviously it's
But that's like saying
essentially-
if Blur came out
exactly.
for Mario Kart, it would.
yeah. It's. I mean, it's a difficult thing to swing. What I'm saying is, it came at the wrong time, but I do feel like it
Story
is
of my
as
Moving on.
very good. It does feel like it's doing something special, but because it's come after enough games that have done something special on a similar platform, it's not going to get the attention for it. What I think it is one of the most singularly satisfying puzzle games. You know, puzzles are these kind of quite anemic, like staid things. You know, it's just like pure mechanic. Whereas this has this amazingly depressing fairy tale story. Like, I can't express to you how sad you will feel when you've finished it, and it just sticks to its guns so well. It's a beautiful game.
So convince us.
Uh,
Does it go in or not?
I think it should. Everyone else seems to disagree with me. I've just been pulled
Is
in
it-
off my chair.
Is it?
Come on.
He's come.
Sorry
Do
about
you know what, guys? He's come all the way in here to passionately, pitch this game for it. I think we should put it through on that basis.
Interesting. Well,
But
that's quite
the
easy.
problem I have is that when we get to the final stages, like, and Joe's not here, no one's going to be able to talk about it.
Let me sum it up. It's narratively, mechanically, and tonally.
I think Rob
one
makes a
of
really
the
good
most
point.
interesting download games.
It's not our game
is
of the
it-
generation.
Do you think it's one of the top 30 games of the generation?
I
I know that's a very strange question.
That is not a confident noise.
No, it is.
Yeah.
It is among my favourite download games on any console. Or
So on that
any
basis,
system,
Flip flopping, it doesn't go through.
it might
Right.
not be,
It w-
but yeah.
I think we've re-represented it anyway, given it a good
I like
show.
Oh, we've
Yeah.
given it a better representation of a lot of the other games.
I like the
Yeah.
idea that it has been entered for consideration because I think it just needs to be. I think it needs to be remembered.
Yeah.
And that's that. I'm out.
Thank you. Go away.
Thank you very much,
Drops the
Joe.
mic.
Blind is it.
Joe Scrells has
See,
dropped
I
it.
just
knocking
I just-
things off
I
on his
thought
way
it'd
out.
be good to get Joe in because a lot of people might say that game
See
didn't
you,
get fair
Joe.
shake.
Bye.
A lot of people would have said that game.
Well,
didn't
that
get
was a
fair shake.
productive visit.
Yeah. Christ.
So,
that was
alright.
Joe Scrabbles convincing us that his favourite game shouldn't go in there.
Scrabble knots.
Number 66, DMC Devil May Cry. Now,
That you're going to make this go in.
hold on.
See, if I was being
Hold up.
a dick, I'd do
Hold
a
up.
Mario Kart Wii style sabotage of your,
This is what I've got to say
your
first.
great game.
I
No.
think
Have you written it down?
Devil May Cry is an astoundingly good game. Maybe not astoundingly, but
Maybe not when it talks out.
The climb down begins.
because I scrolled down and I saw
5
another
minutes,
game,
yeah,
I was like,
shit.
holy shit!
Yeah, it's
That was-
pish.
it's I think it's one of the most expertly, creatively crafted games I've ever played in a long time. And personally, I wanted that game to succeed more because the shit Ninja Theory unfairly got from fans from Devil May Cry, and then the way they were painting them as like destined to fail,
Yeah.
and they kind of hounded every single aspect of that development cycle and made them feel bad for making that game.
Yeah.
Didn't affect them any
Based
bit by
on-
based on the game.
Based on a
They-
bloody hair colour.
Hair color, and they did not give a shit, which is
Yeah.
amazing. And they produced they produced the best Devil May Cry game, up next to Devil May Cry 3. I think that game deserves more attention, but is it better than Bayonetta? Probably not.
Well, I think I haven't played the game, but I still think it should go through. Only because the amount of shit that they got from the community was absurd, and frankly, it was embarrassing.
Politics aside, it
While,
was
while we
embarrassing.
while we
Politics
agree, that's
aside.
not what we're.
Politics
we're
aside.
Well, I know
Yeah,
it's not
it's
with it,
not-
but I want to be
it's
open
not.
about the fact that that's what I want to do. I want us to put that on our...
Otherwise, the
top-
guys who made Ashes Cricket 2013.
No, they produced a shit game. That's the difference. They produced a shit game. Devil May Cry. top
I
to
know,
bottom,
but you nailed it.
excellent.
It's not as good as Bayonetta, is it?
It isn't, no.
So
But
it doesn't make the
in
list.
terms of like that, I say that because I'm a guy who loves mechanics. I love hitting buttons
Yeah.
quickly, and I love doing it over and over again. I
And you
doing,
love
like,
Devil May Cry as well.
and I love Devil May Cry. And Devil May Cry, the mechanics they're very deep, but there's still a level of approachability given to them. You can tell that they're still catering to new players, whereas Bayonetta is like uncompromisingly hardcore in the way it plays. Like
yeah.
it's designed for
So
people.
you're
like
telling
me.
people they should buy it.
You should play. You should buy Bayonetta and you should buy Devil May Cry. And you should play Devil
Awesome.
May Cry because it's amazing and Ninja Theory are amazing.
But I assume we're not going to put it on the list.
No, even though Ninja Theory may cry. Oh, you having that? You having that?
Oh shit! When Joe was in the
It's
room,
alright, they're
I
only
had
making
one,
mobile games
lined
now.
up as well.
Yeah, true enough.
I don't know about
True
that.
that.
All right. Next on the list is Dance Central 1 to 3 at 67.
Enjoy the first one.
Couldn't
First
give a
one's
shit.
good
Yeah.
party game, but
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't care.
No, ain't nobody got time for this.
Nobody got time for that.
Nah, it's a shame because it is the first one, along with Connect Sports, are one of two games that use the Connect well, but
Yeah.
not enough to.
I like. Is it the third one where they're time traveling down
Yeah.
stages?
oh yeah, that's
excellent.
awesome.
Well done
Mental.
for that. But
But
sorry.
do one.
Yeah.
This one could be controversial.
68 Super Smash Brothers Brawl.
Yes, I'm saying
Yes.
yes.
I'm gonna literally. It's funny how we're gonna flip flop
Yeah.
on your argument about Mario Kart Wii.
Are you going to say no?
I'm a massive Nintendo fan. It's not, and you're going to go mental. But it's the same thing you said about Street Fighter. It's not an accessible game.
I think.
I think it's too complicated.
It's not an accessible game.
We need to
I'm
go
with
bring
Andy.
someone in. We
It's
need to
not an
bring someone
accessible game. Tell him, Andy.
Hold on. I think it's an easy game to learn, but
Agreed.
it still requires a certain skill level and a certain wanting to
Yeah,
learn.
At the base
learn it.
level, that game should be like,
But it isn't
you know, if you
cheap,
play,
that's-
even if you play, it's a less accessible game than Street Fighter. Street Fighter, you understand how the mechanics work, what you're supposed to be doing. You're on a flat playing field. You've got a kick button and a punch button. At basic level, if my mum played my dad, they'd punch and kick each other,
I think
and the energy bars would go down.
I think
if they
the-
played Smash Bros against each other, they'd fall off the side and be going, "What the shit is going on?" There's a percentage going up, and I've accidentally made myself throw a boomerang. And
I think the mentality which you approach Smash Brothers at can change how accessible you find it. Like if you come in there trying to play it like you expect it to play it super proficiently and you're trying to figure out overcomplicating it is the biggest hurdle to learning Smash Brothers, I think. If you get in there, I've seen kids come in and play that game. All I've told them is this is what you use to move and this stick, whatever button, whatever direction you push it, it will do a move. Keep pushing it in that direction, it will continue to do that move. And I've seen kids play it for hours and hours and on end. They don't
It
care
was also
about
on the Evo tournament as well.
yeah,
wasn't
I mean
it?
that's when it becomes
but that's
a highly
the
technical
best
thing.
thing about Smash Brothers. It's not that it has no depth; it has tons of it. It's that it's it's not. I mean, it's a
I've
game
found that
designed
just a
to
bit
be a
overbearing.
multiplayer game. I can find 3 other guys to play Mario Kart and have fun with at any time. I can't do that with
Not
Smash
me.
Brothers.
Obviously.
I feel that's just punishing it for not being instantly accessible, but it never tries to be. It never it's like saying Dark Souls is shit because it's really difficult at first. The Smash Brothers doesn't pretend to be the Mario Kart of fighting games just because it's got loads of different characters.
If it's got Mario Kart and it's the Nintendo All Stars game, I think that's exactly what it pretends to be.
But that's people putting a
So you're
defining
telling me
it
there's
for
a
it.
lot
I
of
don't think-
10-year-olds out there that want to play the game where you can play as Mario and Sonic and
Oh yeah,
Link and
absolutely.
Pikachu?
But at the same time, but there was also Pokemon. What was it, Conquest? It was like the kind
Yeah.
of turn-based strategy game as well. I mean, like 10-year-olds probably wanted to play that as well, but they had to learn it
Is
first.
that why it was such a mega hit?
Well, I enjoyed
I,
it.
I think the contrast with Dark Souls is interesting. I think people liked the fact that Dark Souls was so hard that they
Did you get
strugg-
high in the last minute or
They,
something?
they struggled to get. I just thought we were all a bit shouting a bit too much.
Oh.
Listen.
Anyway, but I like the comparison with Dark Souls. But I think people like the difficulty of Dark Souls because they like getting beaten. They like achieving amazing feats. I think Smash Brothers, by contrast, was just overbearing. I just confusing and.
And let's
I
get down
can't-
to the point. We're talking about Smash Brothers now as a whole, rather than this particular game. It's not as good as Melee, is it?
Yeah, but Melee doesn't exist in this generation. In
No,
this
it does.
I'm
list.
sure
Melee
we've
They
already
released it.
not put a one.
No, but in this
no,
list-
not
in this
as good as its
generation.
predecessor.
Which one?
Brawl is not one of the
Well,
games of the
Chris,
generation, is it?
Chris, how
I
high
put-
up in your all-time favorite games list is Super Smash Brothers on the Wii?
All I can say is that I've put hundreds of hours into it this generation.
Yeah.
High up in my all-time list. I appreciate when I agree that it isn't instantly accessible, but I don't think it should be punished for that. I think that once you get into it and once you realise that the sheer number of characters in there and the fact that every character is so different. Well, most characters are some clones in there, but it's the biggest love letter to Nintendo
Yeah.
like you could ever imagine. Like every stage, the soundtrack has got like there's like 100 and so maybe 150 tracks that have all
Yeah.
been remixed and recomposed.
Yeah.
All the stages, all the kind of Easter eggs, the fact that sort of you tap down on the D-pad as Solid Snake. There's a full dialogue with him and the Colonel for every single character
Yeah.
in the game. There's
Yeah,
all
that is
it's
cool.
so much in that game that
I think
even
it's
months and months later you're
It
still
is the
discovering
best
stuff.
love letter to Nintendo and gaming
Yeah,
there is,
Interesting.
because it's
Yeah.
encompassed. It's
I,
got,
I,
like,
I appreciate
Snake in
that.
there
I
and-
appreciate that the first hour or two with it can be frustrating, but once you're through that, I mean that the subspace and mystery kind of single player mode is pretty dog shit.
Yeah.
But by the time you get through that, you've fought your way through the mechanics.
Should
and
we
you've kinda
go
almost taught
to a
yourself.
vote? Is this one of the best games of the
I think it's going
generation?
to be 2v2 though.
It's
isn't
going
it?
to be 2v2, I reckon.
Well,
You think this is one of the best games of the generation? Before we go through
I
back
would
for this
say
list now
that
and
with
list the games
Mario
that it's
Kart
among.
Wii,
I think-
a
I
lot of
think-
my friends were.
I'm-
The only reason I said yes to Mario Kart Wii is because everyone else I knew loved it. And it's the same with this. I mean, all of my friends play it all the time. They absolutely adored it.
I'm not
I
ready.
don't know anyone else who plays Smash Bros.
But
I'm only finding out that you two love it in this conversation.
I mean,
Do I need to go and drag someone else?
Yeah,
I'm not.
no, it's-
I'm not ready to eliminate it yet.
I
I
think it's.
think people loved it as much as they love Mario Kart Wii.
Maybe it's not the best game of this generation, but I'm not
I
ready
don't
to
think that's
eliminate
true.
it yet.
I
I
don't
mean,
think
you only
you
need to
could
look at the
say
sales to
it's-
see that
the
a lot of
audience
people enjoyed it.
size for Smash Bros is no way near Mario Kart. As I
It's
say,
sold
when I
it-
say, I think when we're talking about the people that we know who play Smash Bros, we're talking about our peers, right?
But it sold a hell of a
I mean,
lot.
you're talking about like your brother and like your uncle and your friend from another industry.
Yeah, I am.
You have a lot of friends and uncles who love fighting games, right?
But it's
Not really.
It got into. It was a category on the Evo tournament. So
Oh yeah, no, it's a great, it's a deep game.
But it doesn't.
I don't-
That's the
I
best
think-
thing about it. It
I
doesn't
think
have
if
to
we're
be.
going
It
to fall
does
into
what
that
Mario
category,
Kart can't.
we've already dropped out a couple of fighting games because there were better fighting games.
yeah.
but
I almost don't like. I think Mario Kart, sorry, Super Smash Brothers. It's just this weird, like, it's not quite a fighting game. It's kind
Yeah.
of like a platformer, but at the same time, it's not quite a platformer.
It's a
kind of
genre
like,
of its own.
it's just a weird, so unique game. And
Well,
it's-
I don't think I'm going to persuade any of you, so let's put it through and go through to the final game.
For now.
Okay.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Okay. Next up, we have BioShock at number 69. Might be worth saying 70 is BioShock Infinite.
Well, I think.
I think BioShock is better than BioShock Infinite.
Well, I was about to say I don't think anyone would disagree. I think BioShock Infinite would have been a better game if they held it for the new consoles, because I think they had to pull back on scope quite a lot compared to
Yeah.
those original E3 demos, and I think it suffers a lot for that. I think that the story is admirable. I love the story. I love a lot of the plot points in that game, and I really did. I loved the world as well, but just not as much as Ratchet. It's got important things missing, i.e. it doesn't feel like anywhere that somebody lives. It doesn't feel like there's no believability there. I loved it, but it felt like a theme park.
Yeah,
Set
amusement
pieces.
park.
Set pieces.
It's a great game, one of my favourites, but it's not BioShock.
Agreed.
And I don't think it quite makes, because of that, I think it's outshadowed by that, and I think it loses some of its uniqueness, and I think there's a lot of other games more deserving of our list.
I completely agree, and I think the first BioShock was more focused, and I think it should definitely go through. I'm a bit ambivalent about BioShock Infinite. I wouldn't mind if it goes through. I wouldn't mind if it doesn't.
Yeah.
I think it's down to you guys.
I,
really.
I don't think
I
it
agree
should
with
go in over.
But certainly the original BioShock are
Original
going to my
BioShock
top
is-
10 games
yeah.
of all time.
Probably a
Wow.
contender for Game of the Generation.
Wow,
but we'll
wow.
get there.
Wow, one of the
later on.
fighters.
It's
Yes,
crazy.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
But yeah, I'd agree with that.
So are we eliminating BioShock Infinite and keeping BioShock then?
Yes.
Indeed.
Yes.
Okay. I think that's a good place to stop it.
Agreed.
Cool.